Guys, how you doing? You okay? Long time no see. Yeah.
Good morning, Secretary Duncan. Karina Johnson.
This is your home?
Yeah, this is home. This is my home. We're going to go around here. His job is to make it good for you.
Trying. Principles like this, boy.
Yeah.
What grade are they? You have 4? Each all 4.
So they have honors colors. We have yellow, we have red, and these are our third and fifth graders. Working in the area. I'm doing great. Good to see you.
Chancellor, how are you?
Good morning. Good to see you again. How was everything? Good. Good morning again. Good to see you. Good morning. And then we will go to see some classrooms. We'll see those models, and then we'll push into a classroom. This is Sunny's classroom. Good morning again, and welcome to everyone. Thank you so much for coming to Stanton this morning. We are honored, very honored to host this roundtable here. We are in the midst of turnaround, and by no means are we there, but this is truly a testament. All of our red jackets here, all of the individuals sitting around the table, it is truly a testament of the work that is being done and is continuing to be done here at Stanton. We are in our 4th year of turnaround. We are a DC Public Schools. We are partnered with Scholar Academies. As a part of our turnaround process, we have engaged in many partnerships, and one of those partnerships is with City Year. We attribute much of our success to the additional capacity that's been provided to us because of City Year. We have 18 core members. We have 1 program manager that is dedicated to our work here. So hopefully in this conversation, in this roundtable this morning, you'll get a chance to hear from all of our core members and hear the great work that they are doing to change things for kids. That is our ultimate goal, and we are in partnership to do that. So I am going to turn it over to Ms. Bosman, our assistant principal for student support, who also manages our City Year partnership.
Good morning. My name is Sandra Bosman, and I am the assistant principal for student supports here at Stanton. First, I'd like to thank all of you for joining us today. And I would also like to introduce you to my co-moderator for this morning's discussion, Jeff Franco. And Jeff is the executive director of City Year DC and vice president. Today's conversation is going to be primarily centered on the work of Turnaround and the impact that partnerships, like our partnership with Scholar Academies and with AmeriCorps programs like City Year, has on student achievement. So I would like to turn it over to Chancellor Henderson for opening remarks.
Great, thank you, Ms. Bozeman. I just want to say thank you to all of you for being here. For a very long time, people looked past DC Public Schools when looking for models of excellence. And I'm very proud that nowadays, in fact, people look to DCPS, and Stanton and Scholar Academies is a great opportunity to show off one of the excellent pieces of work that we're doing. I say all the time, we are DCPS and we can do this, but we can't do it by ourselves. In fact, when I think about turnaround, there is no silver bullet. There's no one thing that makes Scholar Academies successful. It in fact, is the layering and integrating of a number of really important strategies. And City Year brings human capital, which, if you've followed DC Public Schools, we have focused a ton on ensuring that we get and keep the very best people in front of our young people. And so I'm proud today that we have been creative enough to allow folks to work together in concert to bring the kind of success that we're seeing here at Stanton. And it's not just at Stanton. In fact, it's happening all across the district. And so I invite you to keep on coming back, because we'll keep on showing you amazing things that can happen here at DC Public Schools. Thank you.
And now to Mayor Gray.
Well, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I'm absolutely delighted to be here, especially since I live in this neighborhood. I have known Stanton for so long, and what I think is happening here, too, to echo some of the things that the Chancellor said, there's an expectation of success that's been created here. And one need only go in the classroom and watch the children performing in ways, frankly, that I think some people didn't think was possible. There was an assumption that if you live in a certain area of this city, you were doomed to failure. And this is breaking that notion. And so I want to congratulate the scholars, academies, and the folks associated with them. And I want to thank City Year also, with which I am abundantly familiar, having done the great work that they do all across the city. The Secretary and I were commenting, well, if we can find 18 City Year Corps members for every school, I think we have a prescription for we have a prescription for success. But you know, in all seriousness, it is obvious that when you can create this kind of environment, that you really have a chance to improve outcomes for children. You look at the literacy, the improvement in literacy scores, the improvement in math scores, the overall improvement in the school, and we just simply need to bottle this and figure out how we proliferate it all across the city.
I'm thrilled to be back here and just say a couple quick things. Turning around schools is probably the hardest, some of the most controversial, and I would argue some of the most important work in education in our country. And to see what you are doing here at Stanton and across the city, as the Chancellor said, I really think it's helping to set a model for the country. In the battle that so many of us fight every single day is lots of people want to tell you why this is impossible, why poor children can't learn, or why black and brown children can't learn. And the challenges are real. No one's saying the challenges aren't difficult. You need great principals, you need great staff, you need great City Year teams. But when those things happen, our kids can do wildly better than what they did in the past. Same kids, same families, same neighborhood, same building, but a different set of expectations. So I want to thank the collective leadership here. I want to thank you for your commitment. I want to thank you for your courage. None of us can do this by ourselves. When we come together, some pretty remarkable things happen for kids. And I come at this as a dad. My kids are a little bit older than the first graders we saw, but I'd be thrilled to have my daughter or son in a classroom like that. And I think if schools are good enough for somebody else's kids, but not good enough for your kids, that's not quite good enough. And we've spent a lot of time creating schools that were good enough for someone else's kids and not our own. So this work has to be really personal. And you guys together doing something remarkable. And I thank you for the example you're setting for the country.
And finally, we'll hear from Michael O'Brien.
On behalf of City Year, I want to say that we're honored to be serving in this amazing school and to be here today and see this incredible integration of a vision of public policy and excellent school administration all coming together with regards to national service and the role that it can play. And I particularly want to thank you, Secretary Duncan and Wendy Spencer, for coming together and bringing the federal agencies, the power of Department of Education and AmeriCorps together to provide this incredible opportunity to bring a new human capital resource into high-need schools, working with remarkable mayors, Chancellor, Lars, the program here, Raina, the school you have is remarkable. And so these 18 Corps members, we think, is the phalanx of what could be happening not only around D.C., but all over the country. We're literally turning away thousands of young people who are willing to donate, their time, their energy, and be here with you and across the country. And we are really excited about School Turnaround AmeriCorps being something that school improvement grant schools, focus schools, priority schools would be bringing more into its scale. And we're ready to sign up because we know these young people are. So thank you.
Thank you. So one of the big foci is the work of School Turnaround. And I think for those of us who have been here for 4 years, or for those of us who've been in the community for much longer than that, it was pretty apparent that Stanton was in need of turnaround. So I'd love to hear from Lars and from the Chancellor both about what made it clear that Stanton was in need of school turnaround.
You start.
Okay. Well, I think a number of things. First of all, a lot of it comes from the community, and I think one of the things that we've seen and has driven the success here is you can't go into failing schools and say, people say there's no silver bullet. It has to be a partnership, right? And I think that partnership is a really key word for us, like we're talking here today about the partnership with City Year. But I think it started with the partnership with the families and the community. And I think the biggest thing was seeing, when you say, how do we know the school was in need of turnaround? You see that from the families and the students and the community. And I think so really And to be frank, we struggled with that at the beginning, and I think we learned a lot and have really invested in partnering with the community in our work here and in our other schools. I'd also share, and I just wanted to add, Secretary Duncan, you said that hardest, most controversial, and most important work in the country. We also think it's fun. Like, I mean, maybe we're crazy, but I actually think, that turnaround work is among the most fun, most exhilarating, because you set, I heard earlier people talk about expectations. Mayor Gray, you talked about expectations. And I think maybe that's another thing to help answer the question is when you're in the school, and it's a tough one for me to answer because we weren't here too much before we were charged with working here and helping to turn the school around or lead the turnaround of the school. But it was clear that expectations were low. And I think if there was one thing I could say, what says a school needs turnaround, it's when expectations aren't high and aren't consistent for our kids and our families. Because we know, like everybody here knows and is saying, that they can rise up to what we set for them when we set the bar high and set it consistently high.
I remember being here a couple of years ago. My son was playing football on the field, and I was in the stands watching, and I heard lots of parents talk about why they wouldn't send their kids to Stanton even though they lived in the neighborhood. And I think there was just this general sense of this was a place that you only went to if you could not go anywhere else. And when I come here now and I look at the fact that they've almost doubled the number of young people who now attend, we were downstairs and roll calling, you hear that the kids are excited to be here. I think it's fairly simple to say that when people feel given up on, they give up. And when people come with a sense of possibility, then families and students have a sense of possibility. And I think that's the very beginning of the turnaround. And the people who are here are communicating that sense of possibility, are communicating the standard for excellence all the time. And so, in fact, you just start to believe it because you don't have any other option, right? And in fact, if that was happening across every single one of our schools as consistently as it's happening here at Stanton, then we'd all be in good shape. We chose to partner with Scholar Academies because we saw the tremendous work that they were doing in probably a similarly challenging middle school in Philadelphia. Now, I taught middle school. It is one of the toughest grade bands to teach. And if you could go into a low-performing middle school and really turn that around, we felt a tremendous sense of possibility with what Scholar Academies was going to be able to do here. And then we layered on all of these interventions. And I think the integration of them is really the magic that is happening. But the expectations and the sense of possibility are key.
Great, good morning. One of the things I see sitting around the table is just how it takes a village to raise a child and how it takes a village to run a program such as this. And so certainly have a great deal of gratitude for folks like the Chancellor who have embraced what we do and the Mayor who's been such a great supporter. One of the questions I think it's good to see kind of breaking it down is what does it take in terms of all the stakeholders that are involved in school turnaround? What is the role that they play? So I'd like to open it up, start with Wendy from the corporation to talk about what role AmeriCorps plays, what role does City AmeriCorps members play, what role does school leadership and the teachers play to make this turnaround actually happen, the success that we've seen the last couple of years.
Great. Well, thanks, Jeff. You're doing such a great job in D.C. And I just want to congratulate Principal Johnson because, you have embraced change and you've embraced those interventions that the Chancellor mentions. And that's not hard. It's hard enough just to motivate teachers and make sure your students are taken care of, but to add all these components and make that a priority is the reason I think your attitude and you're wanting to strive to make sure that you've got all the right parts and pieces to pull this together. And I think, Michael Brown, you're right. Having these members commit their time and energy and effort. So our part as AmeriCorps is providing the living stipend and the grant and the college scholarships that they will receive when they graduate from their year. And I commend these AmeriCorps members because you all of you, to a person, and I see them around the room, have all made a choice to give a year of your life to this community and to this school and to these students. And I thank you for that, because each one of you were chosen above thousands of others who competed to be an AmeriCorps member, to be a City Year member, and you could be anywhere right now. You really could, but you chose this work. Hard, but as Laura said, exhilarating, because you're seeing the impact, and you're seeing it firsthand each and every day. And so our part, we're proud of, to make these grants possible so that young people can join a movement of service across the country. These AmeriCorps members are joining about 80,000 AmeriCorps members across the country who are working, serving in schools and the environment, in Healthy Futures and disaster work. But half of our billion-dollar budget is invested in education, because we believe this is a real sweet spot for citizen service, citizen participation engagement that President Obama wants us engaged in. He wants our communities engaged very much in the work. And this is the way to do this. And so we're proud to be a part of providing that human capital that you see is so valuable. But it's not just rolling out individuals that are high-achieving, overachievers, many of you. It's also doing it really well planned, well instructed, well coordinated. There's a lot to this that goes into the success that each of you are seeing, and the reason that you can see success days on the ground. And what I loved hearing about here is the pipeline, the teacher pipeline that is occurring. Is it 8 AmeriCorps members?
We have 8 former Corps members.
8 former AmeriCorps members.
18 Corps members, and then 1 dedicated program leader.
And 8 have moved into
8 have moved into
staff positions here, which is fantastic. I mean, when that happens, and we're very, very concentrated on economic opportunities across the country for our young people. In City Year AmeriCorps being 18 to 24-year-olds, you're all interested in what you're going to do next and how you're going to take this education and experience with you. And I love it when it turns into, you know, a full-paid position in a school that's turning around. So then you're getting both, right? You're getting the spirit and the interest. I'll never forget one principal I met with, and she told me the night before, she said she was at a principal's meeting, and she asked all the other principals, how many of you raise your hand if you're hiring? And, you know, about a third of them raised their hand and says, well, I'm going to give you the best advice I can ever give you. If you're hiring teachers right now, and they have on their resume AmeriCorps experience, and they've served in a school, hire them. They know exactly what they're getting into. They're ready for it. Yeah, we're doing this, right? And there's no surprises, because, you know, they've spent that year or two ingrained in the school, and they know exactly what to expect, what the challenges, opportunities, and how exhilarating it's going to be as well. So I thought that was really great to hear from a principal, and I'm sure you might share that same advice as well. So we're happy to be a part of providing that human capital support. But we did it here because we partnered with the Department of Education. And we saw a need, a niche, to combine our resources, invested in schools, priority schools that were willing, able, had the need, and were ready to take this human capital to scale and make sure that it works. So congratulations and thanks to Secretary Arne Duncan for partnering with us, for seeing this vision. This is what works well. This is a federal investment that's working at the local level, and you're matching it with local resources, and that's important too. So our congratulations, and this will continue to be a great model, and one that I will share with members of Congress, with governors, with other mayors, and I know I've got a good mayor here that's going to be our champion for why AmeriCorps works in our schools. So thanks.
So maybe we can hear from a City or AmeriCorps member as well. What role you play in school turnaround here at Stanton?
So we're here all day from 8 to 6, and we come in, we set up breakfast, we're there for the morning, during their morning work, and then we go to class with them. Not only do we do in-class support, but we also do a lot of pull-out small groups interventions, which we're so lucky that Stanton lets us do that, and the teachers are so flexible with that. We also do lunch clubs during lunch, so every day take a couple kids and eat with them and have a different like topic for that day for discussion, and then back to in-class support, and then small group interventions, and then we're also here for after school. So really just trying to get involved as much as we can in the school, with the teachers, with our scholars, and the community.
School leadership can speak as well as their role.
I think at the leader level, what's been most important for us is a belief in our people. Scholar Academies provides us with really great core values, one of those being people are paramount. And I think we live that every day, and we seek to build the capacity of all of our people, including City Year. They are a part of who we are. And so at the leader level, when I talk about how many staff report every day, I include them in that number. It's like 80 folks report every day, and I am caring for their development here, but they are also caring for the development of our kids. And so at the leader level, I think for all of us, it's just remembering to hold the bar of expectations high, but know that every day they are going to give their all and give their best.
And speaking of people being paramount, I wanted to introduce everyone to Miss Garner down at the very end. And this is her 4th year, so she's been with us since Turnaround began. And I'd love if you could just talk a little bit about how our school has changed since year 1 and how life might be different for a student now than it was 4 years ago.
Okay, great. Apologize for being tardy. I had to take care of my students first, right? I've seen a lot being here at Stanton from the beginning. I can honestly say that at the beginning when I decided to come to this school and I was stabbed with pencils, bitten, kicked, punched on a daily basis. It was a very difficult experience, but I'm really grateful that I decided to stick with it because I've seen so much growth in this school. And I believe some of the key components are first, home visits. I feel like since starting these home visits and really getting to know my students in the environment that they come from, I understand what's happening every day when they step into my classroom. I know where they sleep. I know where they do homework after school. I know who's there to support them or maybe not support them at home. And I remember when I first thought of this idea of doing home visits, I thought, like, if I know too much about their lives, I might give them some excuse to maybe not succeed. But it's almost pushed me more knowing exactly where they are coming from. I also remember last year, and when I heard that Secretary Duncan was coming, and I was like really excited to see him, and then I felt super disgruntled because he didn't come into my classroom, and I was like, no, he needs to come to my classroom, because it was like, there were so many kids. There were 33 kids in my class, and I was like, he needs to see like really what's happening in education. And I realized another key component is like keeping those class sizes as small as possible, and having City Year there with us has really helped us to have like 2 bodies in that classroom. So no matter what size class we're given, hopefully a smaller classroom is much better. No matter what class size we're given, having that extra body just really helps. I also think Ms. Johnson and also previously Ms. John, the principal before, did a great job of just finding staff who've given their all to this. Like this is my life. Right now, like I live, breathe, and eat Stanton. It's just like what I've decided to do on Saturdays. I hang out with my students. It's something that I've decided that I need to do because you need to have real relationships with our kids. They can't just be like from 8 to 4 in the day. So I know now, like when I come to school, my kids feel safe, I feel safe. We've created a safe space for our students, and I love Stanton. And as long as I teach, I will be here. So yeah, I hope that answers that question.
Yeah, definitely. So I would love to hear both, maybe a little bit more from Ms. Garner and then also from our AmeriCorps City Year members. What does that partnership look like? So how do you work alongside teachers, both in the classroom and then in small groups? How do you support transitions? How are you a part of the school culture?
So I think our main role in helping out with maintaining the school culture is by, like Ms. Garner said, being an extra set of hands for the teachers. So really, we do what they ask us to do, whether that's helping to set up breakfast or pulling small groups. I try to pull small groups 3 times a day because I'm with 3 different classes. And so that's, 12 kids who aren't going to be getting the attention they need without AmeriCorps bodies in the school. So that's a huge way that we help us with small groups. We also give additions and deductions on paychecks, which is the behavioral incentive system that's just amazing at this school. Basically, you know, every student's given a paycheck, and they have to track how much money they earn for being professional, attentive, thoughtful, or hardworking. And so, you know, we do a lot of that, maintaining that paycheck, making sure that the kids are doing the right thing and they're getting recognized for doing the right thing. And then I think the final way is by staying at after school and making sure that after school runs smoothly, because the school day ends at 4. We're on an extended school day at Stanton. And then after that, we run after school until 6 with PAL. We're partnered with them. And so there we help them with homework. You know, we run lessons. We're running lessons on Black History Month this month. And so all of that combined makes, I think that's our main role at Stanton as AmeriCorps members.
How do you get a paycheck again? What is it? What were the words?
Sorry, a paycheck for the path values, we call them. So professional, attentive, thoughtful, or hardworking. You earn $1 on your paycheck every time you're one of those 4 things. And then if you earn enough money, you get to go on the field trips that happen, is it once a month, something? Yeah.
I just wanted to point out, I think Brendan's being very humble by saying, oh, we do what they ask us to do, which we do here. And Stanton has been phenomenal about integrating us into the school, not just allowing us to be here, but really asking us to step up and take on extra responsibilities, and has really helped transform the school culture. But I think the core members here are eager. It's not just about coming in and doing what's asked of us. They want to take it above and beyond and take it to the next level. And Brendan, I don't know if you want to mention about the professional development trainings that you sought out with your teacher. Brendan's a math major from college and is a great math specialist for us on our city year team and in the school. And I don't know if you want to talk about that professional development you went to.
Yeah, it was actually really cool. I had the opportunity to go to the Discovery Channel Center with Miss Jonas, who is the 5th grade math teacher. And we got to do a training on how to inspire critical thinking while still teaching to the Common Core standards and to the test, because I think critical thinking is something that can be lost when you're rushing to make sure that your kids succeed on the CAS and beyond. And so that was very cool. I was there. I was easily the youngest person in the room with a bunch of, you know, very professional, very impressive men and women who'd been teaching for years. And I learned so much from that, and just from being here every day, I'm able to learn so much from you know, all the faculty here. It's great.
And Brenda, where are you from and how old are you?
I'm 20 and I'm from Boston, Mass. I did 2 years at Colorado College, and now I'm taking a gap year this year to explore my interest in becoming a teacher.
So one of the things I think we all agree upon here is that this work is really hard. Many challenges that go along with it. And so I'd love to hear from folks, City or AmeriCorps members, other stakeholders and leadership here, of what are some of the biggest challenges that we've encountered really together in going forward with the school turnaround.
Sure. I mean, I can speak about the reason why I came back. To be honest with you, I didn't feel like a year was enough. And it's pretty easy to want to come back to an environment like at Stanton, where we're integrated so well into the community. As Ms. Johnson said earlier, when she talked about how she considers us part of the staff. And to be honest, I've never felt like an outsider here. We're included in everything. And it's very easy to want to come back to a place where you feel like you're making such an impact. And here at Stanton, I feel like we are. As far as challenges go, it's definitely tough work. I wish that I could tell you I worked as hard in college as I did last year, but I'd be lying to you. You know, and it's one of those things where you spend so much time with these students, and you commit so much of your time and your energy that to just spend 1 year just simply wasn't enough for me. And I think Taylor feels very similar about that as well. And Ms. Johnson and Ms. Bosman actually told us that we couldn't leave. So they forced us to come back. But do you want to talk about challenge?
Yeah, so one of the bigger challenges for me, I think, and I feel like other core members also have this sentiment, but just giving it your all at school and then knowing the different home challenges that occur, like Ms. Garner kind of touched on that, and just not really being able to do as much as possible. But that's the wonderful thing about being here at Stanton is we get to be involved in that. So assisting teachers on home visits, being involved in data, and so it's just like really amazing to be involved at the highest level as kind of like a staff member at Stanton as well.
And Tyler, how old are you, and what are you planning on doing next year?
Oh yeah, so I'm 23, and so next year I'll be doing pursuing Peace Corps.
Peace Corps. Yes. Can I add something to this conversation? I just wanted to say specifically some of the things that you have to incorporate and turn around is strategically thinking of how you can help kids grow. It's not like we just show up and we're like, yeah, we're going to teach you and you're going to learn. No, like Radhika happens to be my city year along with Mr. Jordan, and we meet and we look at data and we say, these are the kids in this class that you have to focus on while I take on everyone else. These are the kids in this next class. These are the kids in this next class. Okay, I've noticed that this person is still struggling. And sometimes they pull them out just to talk to them because our kids have a lot on their plates, right? They're, with the poverty, with the healthcare issues, there's a lot to it. So our students don't always come to school happy. We've created a safe space, but there are a lot of things going on in their lives. And it's just been so amazing to know that my city year can pull them out and have a conversation with them. They know that they're listened to. They know that someone cares for them and that someone cares that, like, you are going to finish your work. We are tough with our students, but because of that, the idea that we know where they can go, we're going to push them. And so I feel like the work that it takes is hard work. It's dedication. It's a lot of strategy when you're thinking about what you need to do, but I feel like we've seen some results that shows that that work actually works.
Jeff, just real quickly, you asked about challenges, right? And I think that one of the things that we've had the best success of and you've heard it sort of individually, is ensuring that everybody is on the same page, focused, and if in turnaround, the belief that it's possible can never waver, because you have these ups and downs. We say sometimes you're fumbling around for a light switch in a dark room, and it takes a different DNA to be successful in the turnaround world than in other schools, I believe. And I think that the thing that I'm most proud of from a Scholar Academy's perspective is what we've done and what the leadership team has done, and then also from a whole staff level have done in terms of creating everybody as a leader and sort of a one-team focus. And I think that that's exacerbated. It's sort of been mentioned here. And the second thing, I think, focus on intervention, and I think where the city year team has empowered or allowed our teachers to really do more of that themselves and via the city years core members, intervention is so critical in turnaround, and I don't think it's something that we've fully figured out ourselves, but I feel like we're making great progress. And I think in sort of V2 or 3 or 4 of the Scholar Academy's model, we're keeping the path paycheck, but we're working on how to redo intervention. And I just think that ensuring that there are appropriate methods for the right intervention to occur when kids are that far behind is critical.
I just want to echo something that Ms. Johnson said. She said, we treat them like they are our staff. And there are lots of schools where city year is where that's not the case, unfortunately. And I think the difference that you see is an investment in professional development, which then makes the city year core members much more effective, right? It's not just about having 10 extra bodies in the building. Teaching reading is hard, right, Ms. Garner? And everybody can't just do it. And so pulling out and working with your most struggling readers, you have to have folks who know what to do with those struggling readers. And so it means that we're not just recipients of these great young people. It means that we have to pour into them. It means that we have to train them to teach reading. It means that we have to train them to help manage difficult behaviors. And when we see school administrators fully embracing city year in that way, and I have to give my hat off to the city year organization, who's also been very diligent about training people how to teach reading, right? That makes a tremendous difference.
And then if I could just add to this talk about intervention too, just some numbers. My students who I've totaled about 8 hours per student on my focus list of intervention time, and on average they grew 10% from their first progress monitoring test to their second. And I expect them to grow that much from their second to their third that they just took. And so that doesn't speak to me. That speaks to the intelligence of my students and how somewhere along the way they missed one or two small details that then snowballed because, you know, math, you don't know how to do multiplication. You're not going to be able to multiply fractions. And so by just identifying those one or two small details, that's really all it takes to move the kids to where they need to be.
Yeah, and I manage a lot of the data here, and so I get really excited and kind of obsessed with data. But I just wanted to echo what Mr. Brendan was saying, which is I think that in our first year, we always refer to it as like trying to fix a broken plane and fly it at the same time, right? And so it's just like throwing a lot of things and seeing what works. And over the past 3 years, we've gotten much more strategic to the point now that our City Year Core members are analyzing ANET data and not just being like, oh, they got 55% or 60%, but saying, oh, they really struggled with multi-step word problems. So in your small group, you're going to take that back, and instead of just teaching math, you're going to teach how to solve multi-step word problems. And I really think that our staff has gotten a lot more strategic in the ways that we target students who are behind, and also the way that we push kids who are high, and then City Year is a huge part of that. So we are close to wrapping up, but I did just want to hear from everyone if there are specific lessons that we can take away about the work of school turnaround and partnerships. And I think if there are some people who maybe haven't gotten a chance to speak, let's start there, and then if anyone else wants to add.
So I'll just quickly make a comment. So we're in 13 schools this year, serving about 4,300 students, and Stanton really has become the model for us in terms of what partnership means. We have, as the Chancellor mentioned, different types of partnerships at different schools, and we really are looking to take away best practices from how it works here and really incorporating the AmeriCorps City Year members and what they're doing, the professional development, watching the interventions happen in the hallway. And so that is something we're constantly trying to learn from, and I think we really try to work that with our other partner schools, working with the principals, talking about how these are the conditions for success that we've seen, and how can we align our goals with your goals, which I think we do a much better job of that than we have in years past. And so I think that's a big piece of this. And so to have people sitting around this table talking about the great work that's happening here, it just helps us really engage with the other leadership from other schools that really want to have that type of effect and impact at their schools.
We have 2,700 City Year Core members in 242 schools and a plan to ultimately get to 1,200 schools. And what we're hoping, working with Wendy, is to show that we always talk about national service going from nice to necessary, to essential to American society, to tap in to this incredible idealism that young people have. And what we're seeing here, from City Year's point of view, we are just so grateful because what you're allowing us to do, Chancellor Henderson and Principal Johnson, what you're allowing us to do is you are helping develop our practice so that we can be all we can be for you and for other schools, because we want to make sure that young people are brought into these schools not just a nice place to volunteer, but as essential to the strategy of education that you're seeking to deploy and the effectiveness that you're seeking to have in your schools. And if we can do that, perhaps right here from Stanton, it can be a model for the entire country to show how national service can and should be scaled to be used in high-need schools all over the country. And that could be so game-changing, because we know every day, I've been working in City Year now for 25 years, young people just have so much to give. It's just crazy to say no to all that idealism with the way that you're all deploying it. So we want to take everything that you're teaching us about how to improve our practice in this school and take it all across the country. So we're incredibly grateful to you. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to weigh in?
I'd just like to say amen to that. That's great.
Great.
I was in a discussion recently, and someone made the comment that education reform, we've tried that and it didn't work. God, what? And the point I guess I'm making is that education reform is a dynamic process. It is a continuous proliferation of ideas that start with the belief that our children can learn irrespective of what community they may be in. And Stanton is a great example of that, bringing together City Year with the staff here at Stanton, with the scholars academies, and creating a culture of expectation that our children actually can learn. You know, when I hear talking about going from 8 o'clock to 6 o'clock in an after-school program, forget the after-school part. Let's call it school. Why is there a prescribed time for school? Why is there a prescribed time for a school year? Why is there a prescribed time when children are expected to start? I just asked Principal Johnson, I said, do you have early childhood education here? She said, yes, we have 5 classes of pre-K 3 and pre-K 4, which is phenomenal. We now have 92% of our children who are 4 years old in school. We have 70% of our 3-year-olds who are in school. My goal is then to continue to move down to the point where we feel like we've gotten children at the earliest developmental levels involved in an educational experience, because life is an education. And it should be an experience where, people come, the children come, and as you do, connecting with the parents to be able to involve them in what is the most important experience that they will ever have and we will ever have, and that is preserving the future of our country.
The only thing that I just wanted to mention in terms of the biggest lesson is that we cannot do this alone. We cannot do this work alone. The partnerships that we have, both with City Year, with Flamboyant, with DCPS, with Scholar Academies, allows us to do the work that we do. And there's so many heads around the table constantly thinking about how to make this better for kids, and trusting that all of the people that we enlist in this work are going to put our hands on kids and give them all that we got. And so I'd say that the biggest lesson is don't walk into a building, don't ever walk into a building, especially if you're going into a turnaround environment thinking that you can do it alone.
All right, well then we would like to thank you all so much for being here. If you'd like to stick around, you're welcome to talk to some of our folks who are here every day and ask any other questions that you have. But otherwise, we'll wrap up right now.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to, Sanjay, if I may, sorry. So I don't know if we can end our meeting here with a spirit break. Brendan, if you want to help explain the purpose and protocol for our spirit breaks.
Yeah, like part of our City Year culture is to end every meeting that we have together on a spirit break. It's just sort of a symbol of unity and being together and connected. So, you may have seen something like it on the sports field. Basically what we do is we all put our hands together in the center, and if there's no more room in the center, you can just put your hand on the back of the person in front of you, and we go C, Y, D, C. And then the person on top has chosen a word. It could be service, so it would be C, Y, D, C, service, ha. And then the ha at the end stands for heard, understood, and acknowledged. And so that's just, again, another aspect of why we care. So let's bring it in for a break. The person on top in the middle.
So what word are we saying?
What's the word? Person on top. All right, here we go. What's the word, Mayor? Dedication. Dedication, everybody. C. C-Y-D-C.